WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio. Of U.S. Army WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. All right, everybody. Today is Friday. Friday. We made it. It's the 23rd day of October 2020. And yes, it is a lovely evening. I don't care what Spanky says. I think she's just upset that she doesn't get to sit out on her patio and enjoy the cooler weather. Now it's actually a point in time where you kind of need a jacket, man. It was 75 degrees when I drove to work this morning, and when I came home, it was 51. I can't believe the temperature change, man. It's just it's awesome. It's a
Did
very
you have some bad storms down there today?
Was it bad? We got a lot of rain. There was some thunder and lightning and whatever, but it wasn't bad where I was. I don't know if anybody else experienced any bad, quote unquote bad. It was ominous. I mean, when the front came through, there were some pretty nasty looking pictures, and it was, it kind of looked like nighttime in the middle of the day, but it was fine. It just rained and the temperature dropped.
It's been nice here. It's been in the 80s, so I'm good.
I think we'll be in the 80s, at least up here. I can't say. I don't know if that's warm enough for Spanky. She's like an amphibian. She just would rather have it to be hot. I'm exactly the opposite, dude.
She's like borderline exothermic.
It was it was good, man. It's good. I got my windows open. Of course, the air conditioner's never going to turn on. I usually keep it about 72, and it's 68 inside my house. So I'm going to sleep well tonight. Ceiling fans are off, but the windows are open, and it's beautiful. How you been, Pooky? I was absent last week. You made it through the last 2 weekends, so this is good.
Just surviving, figuring out my new scenario, where I'm living and everything, trying to meet people, and it's working out. And
the thing about meeting people is you have to leave the house. That's what I heard.
Well, I'm like introverted, and I like to, I'm a gamer though. Like when I say gamer, everyone thinks like, oh, I like to play games. Mm-hmm. I play games like like Dungeons and Dragons and roll dice games. And I found a place today that was just like, I walked in there, it was like I died and went to heaven, and I might start hanging out at that place and meet some people. So
that sounds cool, man. You gotta, it's like what Red Leg used to always say: you got to get in where you fit in, and it seems like you found a place where you fit in.
Oh yeah. It's like my mom came with me. She's like, "You look really happy." I was like, "Yeah, it's like I died, went to fucking heaven."
It's great. So last week I wasn't here because I was down in Minx got married on Saturday last week, and I was invited to the wedding, so I went down and went. I left. I took a day off of work, and I went down a day early to visit our good friend Spanky. So that was fun. That was fun. We stayed up way too late. I think we were awake.
Did she have tacos for you?
Yes. She had good food, really good food. So we caught up a little bit. Shot the shit. Her daughter came home from. I don't know if she was working, if she was doing some school stuff, and one of her best friends showed up, and we just kind of hung out on the back porch and had some adult beverages and shot the shit, and it was great. It was awesome. I don't socialize much, so it was good. I was taking it in. So I spent Thursday. Yeah, I worked Thursday. I went down there Thursday night. Friday wasn't the show, but we did something, and I haven't done my homework. I'm just now catching up. It's been a hell of a week. But anyway, Friday I went down to Austin, checked into my hotel room, and I was pleasantly surprised that they were actually going to have breakfast in the morning, and it was breakfast tacos. I stayed at a Wyndham in Austin or Round Rock or something like that. And but when I got down there, they say we're gonna have breakfast tacos. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. Then you get down there, and there's these chafing dishes with warmed up eggs, and then there's warmed up papas, and then there's some sausage. And they asked me, what do I want?
Microwave your own shit.
What do I want on my taco? I said, well, make one of them everything, and then make another one just eggs and sausage. And they're like, but sir, you can only have one. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I pretended like I had a significant other. I pretended like I had a wife up in the room. I'm like, well, my wife's up in the room. Can I bring one for her? and they wouldn't give me 2 tacos.
Oh.
They wouldn't give me 2 tacos, and they didn't have any. They didn't have any salsa. They didn't have any picante or nothing to put on it. It was just. I don't tell Spanky this. I ended up putting ketchup on my taco because they didn't have any sauces or nothing. No verde sauce. It was just. I was like, oh. So
I just heard blasphemy.
It is blasphemy. It is blasphemy, but it put food in my belly, and I was happy. Those are white tacos. Well, yeah.
Oh no, the tacos.
They didn't even have corn tortillas. Everything, they had flour tortillas, and then 1 taco.
Oh, looked in shock. No.
So if Spanky had come down with me, I think she would have had to have words with whoever the president of Wyndham Hotels is.
Oh, she would have had some words.
But everybody there was super, super nice, and everybody's trying to get this Rona has different cities have different rules for the Rona, and it's just thou shalt wear a mask. And I wore a mask. It's just whatever the rules are, man. I'm not knocking the rules. It's not my hotel. I can't make up the rules. The mayor has laid down the law in Austin, and it's really weird. It's a little bit different in Austin than it is up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So be it, man. You kind of adapt, and you don't make any waves, man. I wasn't there to prove a point or to make a stand or anything. I was there to enjoy a friend's wedding. So, I survived. I probably could have come back after the wedding, but I stayed another night, and I stayed until Sunday. I left Sunday morning, and I drove back into Dallas. So it was a good time. It was really a good time. It was really good to see. It was really good to see Minx and her husband and her entire family, all of her friends. That place was so packed full of people that were just happy to be there for them. And I was happy to see Fallon happy. She was smiling. She's always big smiles and everything, but man, she was just genuinely.
She's in her pictures. I saw her. She was like
her. And it's not the fact. I mean, a lot of those pictures, she has a Shiner Bock bottle in her hand. I think she walked around with that same beer all night. It's not like she was like hand over fist with those things. That was just everybody. I mean, I should have published or brought in a picture of me and her. It was just great. It was really good to see her, and I'm glad she's happy. And a new life has begun. And it was one of the coolest wedding ceremonies I've ever been to. I've been to a lot of wedding ceremonies, and that was including my own. It was just very cool. It was quick. It was straight to the point. All the bridesmaids and the groomsmen walked down the aisle. The flower girls did their business. The ceremony began, and then the ceremony. They exchanged swords, which had each family crest on them. They had a hand fasting, and it was over. If you blinked, if you left, you're like, okay, this is going to last a while. I'm going to go to the bathroom. By the time you came back, the ceremony was over. The actual ceremony itself was probably 5 minutes. The whole pomp and circumstance going, down the aisle and stuff, that made the entire thing last about 15 minutes. And all the rest of that time was about food and open bar and dancing and food, and they did barbecue for the meal. It was delicious. They had a cool looking Nightmare Before Christmas cake. You probably saw that. Cool. It was delicious. It was really, really good. I stayed until cake, and then I left. Being safe for myself, don't want to keep my exposure out. I was happy for her, and I think Minx doesn't have any ugly friends. Everybody there was good looking. It was like walking into a GQ magazine type. It was just everybody just looked like you molded. It was just great. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Minx's dad was there. He gave a really quick couple of seconds. It was the toast, and he toasted the marriage, and he said some really, really nice words, and he started to choke up. He goes, "I'm going to shut up now because I'm going to start to cry," and then the waterworks almost started with Minx. So she came over and then hugged her dad, and it was great. They kind of quelled the tears between each other, and then they had the daddy-daughter dance where Minx and her dad danced, and that kind of got to me a little bit. And then her husband went out and danced with his daughters. He has 2 beautiful little daughters, and I was fighting back tears, and I thought that was the sweetest thing, and it was awesome. Then I had some cake, and then I went back to the hotel, and I watched Hackers.
Great movie.
It's one of the best. It's one of the better horrible movies.
Oh, it was such a shitty movie, but it's a great movie.
I know. And that was a 90s movie. That's an early 90s movie, correct? Late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, 80s, 90s.
Angelina Jolie's in it. Angelina Jolie's in it, and she was
very,
super,
very young.
She looked like she was probably 17. So it's old. Oh my gosh, Spanky said, Spanky being Spanky, she ended up taking some cake back with her. That sounds like Spanky. I didn't think that there was going to be enough cake left. That was delicious cake.
If I ever have a wedding, I'm not going to do cake. I'm just going to have like this pile of meat.
A big pile of meat? No.
Yeah.
Maybe cupcakes.
No cupcakes.
No cupcakes at all.
It's going to be like keto friendly, like just eat the meat.
I can get behind that. That would have been good. There was a lot of meat, man. There was a whole lot of meat.
It's a Texas wedding, man.
It was barbecue. It was barbecue, and it was delicious. They had brisket.
Barbecue. Did they have the Mexican, like the cheek?
Oh, barbacoa?
You gotta have that there.
I don't think so. They had smoked pork tenderloin.
Oh, pork tenderloin.
There was brisket. And it was weird because me and Minx's dad were sitting there talking. We're like, is this turkey? I thought it was turkey. And he's like, there's supposed to be 3 meats here. I paid for 3 meats. So I'm thinking, okay, this is brisket. This is definitely brisket. This tastes like turkey. And the other meat was, I was thinking, because normally, sausage is another good meat to throw in there, smoked sausage. But it ended up being pork shoulder. And it didn't taste like pork.
Shoulder. So you had shoulder, brisket, and pork, and beef.
I think there was turkey. I think I ate turkey. I'm not sure. It tasted good. Everything slathered in barbecue sauce, but it was all good. It was really delicious.
When you smoke anything, it gets that smoke flavor into it. It just tastes smoky regardless.
Mm-hmm. So. And the beans, they had beans, and it was really, really good. And they had cups of sweet tea, which another shortcoming for Spanky. She doesn't drink sweet tea. She just drinks plain ass.
Everyone's got their weirdness about them.
A little, but the thing is, the sweet tea was not too sweet, which was really good. I like it unsweetened to the point of being. There's got to be a little of something in there.
I was born up in the Appalachians, but I grew up down south.
So you have Mount Moonshine in your tea.
Yeah, well, moonshine's all right, but my thing is, you better get diabetes from drinking your sweet tea. That's the way I am with it.
You should be able to stand your spoon up in the cup.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So I don't know, man. What do we have planned tonight? I don't know. I guess we're going to talk about some things and some stuff. Like I said, it's been a heck of a week for me. We're kind of. This was a long week for me. A lot of hours. They got rid of our every other Friday off because we're kind of pushing toward a deadline. So it's like, hey, glad you guys enjoyed your every other Friday off, but now you don't get that anymore. So I was like, oh, okay. So now,
get to work.
Well, which is awesome because it's before Christmas and saving some money.
Your business doesn't do like a Christmas savings thing, or?
No. I work for a pretty big corporation, so when you got 60,000 employees, you can't do the Christmas club. I mean, you can, but it's
It wouldn't hurt.
it wouldn't hurt. The company I work for has changed
extra benefits
a whole lot over the years. I think they've gotten better. a lot more younger leadership, and that's reflecting in the way that the employees are treated. So I'm very, very happy. I've been with the company since 1996, and I've got no bad words to say. It's the job I got. When I got out of the Army, this is where I went to work. I went to a job fair and I was recruited at the job fair. And I came to work. I was still on terminal leave. It's awesome. They're just a really
transition leave.
Transition leave, yes.
I get so mad. It's like Spanky getting mad about behoove and all that. And it's transition leave, not terminal. You're not dying from cancer. So
no, I had to burn like 53 days of leave. So I had a lot of. I didn't have to go to work.
Sell so much leave when I got an arm.
Yeah, we were so well treated in my unit that it's like we didn't really have to take leave to do things. And if you're gonna get on an airplane and fly to the other coast, then yeah, take leave. You got to have some coverage. But if you're gonna be gone for a few days, here's a pass for a day or 2 days. Commander would sign it and everything, so you're covered. So the service member was covered. So I never really used a lot of leave. I would use leave and sit my ass in the barracks, or I would go down. When I was stationed at Fort Hood, I'd go down to Austin. I'd stay with some friends down in Austin for a few days and come back. It's just I never really had to take leave. I'd go. At that point in time, I wasn't on really good terms with my parents, so it's not like I could just go up and drive up to Chicago to see my mom and dad. So that was my situation. Other people have different situations. So there's our little opening segment. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah. The whole half hour.
Half an hour. That was a good opening. That was like stretching exercises. Stretching exercises for the rest of the show. Anyway, we thank you all for joining us here. I'd like to say a special hello to everyone on YouTube and Periscope. Did my Periscope launch?
Oh.
It did not.
Hello, Twitter. Never mind.
Checking.
A side note, like the other night, I had a nightmare that your whole system crashed.
That's not a nightmare. That is a reality. Yeah. It doesn't. It just says checking for source. Not seeing the source.
It does what it does.
It does what it does.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter. Who cares about Twitter?
How you doing, Wall?
If you don't have a blue check mark, it don't matter on Twitter.
Oh my gosh! Did you see all of that coming up today?
Oh my god, the fucking coyotes!
Coyotes!
Shut your mouth, man! The fucking coyotes!
I live in Southern California. I've never seen a coyote carry a child across the border.
That puts it top. I don't know. Remember that a state was a representative or whatever it is from Georgia that thought that Guam would capsize.
Yes,
because the military was.
They're putting too much equipment on the island of Guam, so he was concerned, and he said this during a hearing that he thought Guam was going to tip over.
Talking to like the admiral of the Navy or some shit like that, like the big guy, and he's talking to him, and the look on. The admiral's face was priceless. He's like,
you can't just say, "Listen here, dumbass."
Oh, I would have done it. Oh, that's like that stupid debates last night. I know we tried to keep it at 92% non-politics.
That was 2 weeks ago. I was just making a statement that last week was only 92.5%.
We were trying to keep the show at 92% non-politics. This shit. I've lost faith in humanity.
Yeah, this Twitter kind of showed their ass. I'm sorry, the blue check marks actually showed their ass because of all of the coyote. It's the coyote. I can't believe Trump said that. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I live in Texas, so that term is common to me. I can't say whether or not that was a common.
Like from Georgia, like
I can't remember. I grew up in the Midwest in Chicago and in Wisconsin. I can't tell you whether I did or did not know what the term coyote was. I know what it is now. It's very common. Everyone knows what it means down here, but to a lot of blue check marks who probably never been out of their state, they don't know
Georgia. From Georgia. From Georgia.
But you knew what it was before you came down here?
I lived in Texas forever, so I know what a coyote was.
Okay.
So, I mean, other than from when I lived in Virginia forever and a day, it's some esque animal that you shoot when it comes to kill your chickens. But, yeah.
What about you, D-Max? I know you're not from Texas. I know where you're from. You know what the term coyote is? Or as it's written, coyote?
Coyote.
Bringing over people who want to come into the United States illegally, they hire a coyote. Just a person that they pay thousands of dollars to, and they get them across the border. Or actually, they lead them to the border and say, there's the border, go. He says, yeah, it's something you kill. Okay.
There you go. That's I mean, growing up in Appalachia, we got a coyote. All right. Run out to the woods with your 410
Where's my gun?
And blow its brains out.
Right. See, what are we going to talk about here? Here's our intro. We're talking about story number 1. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's over this defund the police. Defund the police, that was one of the big mantras over the last few months, with all these riots and stuff. I don't know if in your part of your neck of the woods where they've been chanting, maybe in the larger cities. And this is where it's mostly.
Well, I'm deep south right now, so you can get a gist.
Well, the deep south has big cities, Charleston.
Yeah, but
yeah, but not so much.
When you say big city, I lived in Houston forever, so
then
that's big city.
that's the third most populous city in the United States. You can't really beat that. But anyway, there's been a lot of defund the police talk, and it first started in Minneapolis, but now, and they actually voted. It went to city council, and the city council voted to defund the police. And it's kind of coming. It's kind of coming back to bite them in the ass. 8 Minneapolis residents are suing the city council over a lack of police presence amid spikes in violent crimes in the city. Really? You take the police off the streets and crime goes up? That's bullshit. What do you think? I think they're making this up, Pooky.
Well, yeah, it's a lie.
The residents are blaming the council's call to defund the police and argued that the city has not said how many officers are currently on the ground to meet the minimum requirement for protecting residents. The Minneapolis City Council members in June voted to completely, and this is quote, completely dismantle the city's police department and replace it with a community safety program. That works.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off of the story. But
no.
Do you remember George Carlin's little skit that he did about like verbiage? Like Americans don't like verbiage, and they'll change anything to like I've got constipation, I've got irregularities or whatever it is. That's like where we're going with this. It's like double speak like no one else's business. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like the good idea fairy came up to the Minneapolis City Council and just says, "Ping, here's a good idea for you." So they decided to defund the police, and then shit started rolling downhill. Well, they reversed course on that. So the Minneapolis City Council in June voted to completely dismantle the city's police department and replace it with a community safety program. The council has since changed its stance amid Imagine this. A surge in violent crime and carjackings in Minneapolis. Mayor Jacob Fry's 2021 budget plan includes a $14 million budget cut to the police department. Sounds like a lot of money, but when you see the rest of the numbers, it's not. $14 million is a lot of money by anybody's standards. Their original
for an individual, that's a lot of money, but for a government entity, that's chump change.
Especially Minneapolis. Minneapolis is the most populous city in Minnesota. The Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Anyway, their original budget was $193 million in 2020, and he's cutting it to $179 million for 2021. So they better learn their lesson. I did the math. That's 7.25%. A 7.25% cut.
Okay.
The Minneapolis Police Department reports that, yes, there clearly has been a surge in violent crime in the city since June. I mean, dude, you take police off the streets, and crime is going to increase. There's no two ways to argue that. You can't have...
My inner libertarian is screaming right now is like, if you want to defund the police, make sure the civilians have firearms. You know,
make sure the cities have the citizens have firearms. Yes, I would say have more maybe more community programs. I've lived inner city. I've lived rurally. The kids need something to do. They need. I'm not saying they need government programs, because I'm really not. I really. Personally, my personal feelings, this is Koz talking, I don't think that government at all is the way to solve issues. I think that when there are problems, the community will solve the issues.
Exactly.
Crime and police, on the other hand, it's a different situation, especially in the large cities like Minneapolis. And I'm going to compare that to like Detroit and Chicago and Houston and Dallas and places like that, where you have such a mix, a cultural mix of people. If you go to Leander, Texas, you're not going to see a whole lot of crime because everyone's a rancher there. There's a whole lot of spread out space. But you take a community that's in Detroit, and there's all kinds of different cultures there, and there's folks in there that use crime to they deal drugs, they rob fuckers, they break into houses, they steal cars.
Well, I mean, I don't know about, like, I lived in Florida for a while there, and the neighborhood I lived in, no one ever locked their doors because everyone was like crazy gun nuts. So everyone was like, "Hey, you come in my house, you're gonna catch buckshot." And,
well, what's the saying? An armed society is a polite society.
Polite society, very much so. No, I'm a firm believer in that. No one would want to rob the person that's gonna shoot you and you're breaking in their house. But I mean.
So I'm seeing all this anti-cop stuff, and this kind of comes up and then it goes away, and it comes up and it goes away in red states. But all of this crap that you're seeing, painting the roads.
Yeah, well, there's a correlation. There's definitely
these are a lot of these are all blue states, man.
Well, what if I did that in front of the courthouse, but I said taxation is theft? My ass would be rotting in jail right now for doing it because I vandalized the, but that's just, a double standard, I guess.
I think we'd both be in jail. But I have a certain level of tolerance for taxation.
I'm not a full-blown libertarian like everyone thinks I am. I kind of lean a little bit to, a certain way, but you need a government to kind of do things, but you don't need a government to do things sometimes.
You don't need government to overdo things. Where you start legislating the size of the cup of soda that you can buy at a 7-Eleven. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Thanks.
Or like where I'm living right now, where if you the Atlantic coastal, what's that pathway that goes up the East Coast? I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but as soon as you cross it, where I'm living right now, the sales tax goes from 8% to 9%, instantly. because you're now in a tourist area, you got to pay an extra 1% tax.
Oh,
yeah, it's like what?
So if you've been watching, if you're a baseball fan, the World Series is going on. I have no idea what the series is at right now, but
I haven't watched baseball in a long time.
They're playing that right down the street here in Arlington, Texas, at Globe Life Field. That stadium is a stone's throw away from the ballpark in Arlington. And the reason why they built the new stadium, the Globe Life Field, is because they wanted to have it covered. They wanted it to be covered. It's a retractable. I think it's retractable roof. But they wanted it to be covered.
Play in the weather. Be a man.
Right, and that's the way it's been. But I mean, when it's 106 degrees outside, the last place you want to be is sitting in an open air stadium watching baseball. I understand.
You've never been to any northern stadium during football season.
Yes, I have.
But okay.
Oh yeah. I've been to a couple Packer games, and it gets cold. It gets cold as hell. But guess what? The Packers aren't going to do. They're not going to build a stadium yet.
No, because true football teams can play in the cold.
So anyway, thanks to the Arlington taxpayers, this actually got put to a vote a couple of years ago. And the Arlington taxpayers agreed to have this property tax levied for a number of years to pay for this Globe Life Field. And it's definitely, I think it's definitely in the billions. It was.
I am so confused about what you just said. People willingly paid to have a stadium built for money they would never see ever again.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it brings revenue to the city. I understand that.
But it's obviously like a bad investment. Like, hey, let's invest into this stockholder here, and you'll never see a penny from it again.
And the thing is, the Arlington taxpayers footed the bill for AT&T Stadium for Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, in his defense, he put up a lot of damn money himself. But then,
Jerry Jones isn't like the best.
Well,
you want to get into this,
but the Arlington taxpayers are all about that. We're running out of real estate to put professional sports stadiums. We've got the ballpark in Arlington, which was built under when President Bush was, or when George W. Bush was our governor. That's how long ago that was built, and he became president. So now, literally across the street. I mean, it's like on the other side of the parking lot. This is where Globe Life Field is. It's a beautiful, beautiful stadium, but the reason it was paid for and completed so quickly was because of the Arlington taxpayers.
So let me get this straight. They paid for a stadium, but then their schools and everything are just jacked up as they always were.
No, the schools aren't bad. The schools aren't bad. Globe Life Field kind of got a raw deal because of the Rona. This was their year. This was an awesome opportunity for them, and there was people that bought tickets and season tickets, and Globe Life Field was set to make a ton of cash, a ton of revenue. And the Rona hit, and now all of these things aren't happening. So now they're having, they are. We do have seats. You can go to the game. But I think it's like 25% capacity. The seats for this, if you look on the Globe Life website, you can buy seats to the World Series. Tuesday night, a friend of mine says he was going to go, but the price that he was quoted was like $4,400 a ticket. I'm like, wow, that sounds really expensive.
What?
Yeah, $4,400 a ticket, and that was a nosebleed. So I went to the Globe Life ticket, counter where you can buy tickets and pick them up at will call. Third base line in a suite for $667 or something like that. If you wanted to prepay for a Game 7, a Game 7 suite, like in an owner's suite, that was like $3,000. $3,700 or something like that, which is damn cheap. If you try to buy something like that,
I just wish I had money like that floating around, man.
I know. If I had money to burn, I got an extra $4,000. I'm going to go to a baseball.
Let's go have a steak and watch the World Series.
money, man. But the corporations get all that. They get all those seats. When corporations can, try to wow a customer or a potential client. Here, hey, I got World Series tickets. You want to go to the World Series? Rona aside, with all things being normal.
I still remember being a kid, living up near Pittsburgh and seeing Three River Stadium, the Pirates play.
Pittsburgh is a beautiful. I love Pittsburgh. I really, really like Pittsburgh. I had to drive through. I had to drive through Pittsburgh, not through downtown Pittsburgh, but I had to drive past Pittsburgh, and going through the tunnels and on the interstate there. That is a pretty drive, especially in the fall. Yeah. But I don't want to get off and light the river on fire because it's got so many chemicals.
Yeah, stay away from the Three Rivers. It'll kill you. You either jump in there and find a body, or you'll jump in there and rot to death.
One or the other. Which is the lesser of two evil on that?
Yeah, well,
because you can drink the water and get freaking intoxicated.
That's Milwaukee.
That is Milwaukee. Free beer. Speaking of free beer, the security cameras at a Michigan brewery, that's a weird word, caught multiple people entering the premises at a bar while it was closed, and they were helping themselves to some drinks. I can't believe this.
Sounds like a good time.
It does sound like a good time, but it also sounds a lot like, I don't know, criminal trespass or breaking and entering.
Yeah, B&E, yeah.
So the security camera caught multiple people entering the premises while it was closed, and they were helping themselves to some drinks. Then they invited more people, including children, inside the brewery, despite the fact that it had not been open to the public. The unidentified individuals entered Sioux Brewing Company of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, on Saturday while the business was closed to customers. According to the brewery owner, Ray Bauer, the men appear to have entered through an unlocked door, but he cannot be certain. It started with just two men, and after a while, they got on their phones, and soon there were more adults and then a handful of kids. It seems to me that they actually called those people and invited them down, despite the fact that there were no workers, no customers, no lights on, no music playing, and no open sign. And all the furniture had been removed because the lovely governor of Michigan is super horrible on this Rona thing.
There's people trying to take her out because of the shit, but no one wants to talk about that. But I digress.
She's definitely not making any friends. So he also says that he doesn't believe the incident was planned ahead of time, but he thinks that the group was just acting out of a sense of entitlement. I get that. He also explains that as a father himself, he was upset that the people brought children along and allowed them to run roughshod through the place. Bauer confirmed that the group took 9 beers along with sodas for the children. It's not really about the money, he said. It really isn't. It's about the sheer audacity of it. When Bauer's landlady made him aware that something was going on at his brewery, he started to head over to investigate. When he approached the property, that's when people finally started to disperse. He says, quote, "To me, the fact that they all immediately cleared out would indicate that they knew that they were doing something wrong." So here's some stills that were published from the security camera, and of course, not sure how many listeners we have in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, but if you recognize anybody on this camera, please give the Sault Ste. Marie Police Department a telephone call. At least they had masks with them. I don't know if you can see those photos there, Pook.
I don't know, I see it. I've just got one question. We live in 2020. Why are cameras so shitty?
That's an excellent question. I mean, we've got cameras that can shoot. I mean, look at the Hubble telescope.
You can see galaxies far, far away, but
with amazing
anytime
clarity.
there's a criminal case going on, it's so blurry and fuzzy that I can't tell who the hell it is.
So that happened last week, and I followed up on the story, and I don't think they've come up with anything. There is a Twitter feed on this. It's not an extremely popular Twitter feed, but there's kind of a mixed bag of people with differing opinions. They're like, they just went in for a couple of beers or whatever. I'm like, either way you cut it, you're in a
theft is theft. As simple as that.
Theft is theft. That is theft. I mean, it doesn't matter the amount. It's the fact that they're in a business that doesn't belong. If they're in a building that doesn't belong to them, and they're taking things that don't belong to them. Is it felony? Probably not. I don't think it raises to the level of being a felony. But man, that's some serious balls, especially in Michigan, which is a pretty pro Second Amendment state. It's just weird to see. I'm surprised to actually see that. You think people would have, especially people of the community. Sault Ste. Marie's not that big. You'd think that people of that community would have a little bit more respect for their neighbor's property. I mean, granted, people are going to be. I think folks are going to be, kind of. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I see you. I think people are going to be kind of stir crazy because of the lockdown. I think that the governor of Michigan's been doing a pretty horrible job and a very inconsistent job over what businesses are open, what businesses are not open. We've got some listeners out in the Philadelphia area. The kids aren't even going back to school yet. I get it, man. You're stuck and you just want to get out and you want to do things. And I kind of equate this to, I guess, some, you live in a household where mom and dad have a bunch of really super tight rules, and finally mom and dad go out of town and there's a babysitter, and the kids just kind of cut loose a little bit. I don't think that there's any super,